right.
Let's get down
And
to
go.
business.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Dead Film Critics Society. As always, I'm Daniel from Reviewing, a channel on YouTube you should look up and subscribe to, please. I need that. And,
Yes.
of course, as always, I'm here with Aiden, my co-host, my brilliant, beautiful co-host from
Hey.
Reviews. On Instagram, make sure to go follow him. He's got lots of funny reviews, little reels. I've already watched it like 5 times. I think it's funny enough. It's just like,
Yeah.
I kind of like, it's bad obviously because it's
No,
like,
it's terrible. I
but that's
totally
kind
admit
of that's part of the charm to it. That's part of the charm.
that.
You
Yeah.
know, that's
No, it's
part of the
not
reason why
serious,
it's funny. So yeah, make sure to go check out
Yeah.
his review on the movie we'll be talking about today, which is Kong Skull Island. But before we get into
Yes.
that, I got a quick piece of trivia for you, Aiden. Can you name
All right,
as
shoot.
many of the actors that were in Kong Skull Island that are also MCU characters? This is more of a
Ooh,
I
okay,
don't
well,
expect you to get all of them, but there is a good amount.
No, it's okay. I can do this, I think. So we got Sam Jackson. Now, obviously, he's Nick Fury, right?
Yep.
Okay. Then we got Brie Larson, Captain Marvel.
Yep.
Then we got Tom Hiddleston, Loki.
Yep.
God, I feel like I'm missing. I don't know. Am I missing something? Let me just think.
You are.
Oh, I am. Aren't I?
Yeah.
Fuck. I can't think of the last one. Who is it? Who is it?
So there are a couple small ones that I wouldn't really expect to get, but John C. Reilly is in Guardians of the Galaxy, if you remember, as
Oh,
one
yeah!
of the
Yeah.
officer people of the
I forgot about that.
the
Yeah.
planet. Yeah.
Nova Corps. Yeah.
Yeah, Nova Corps. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's one of the Nova Corps. There are a couple. Corey Hawkins was like, I don't know, some small character from Iron Man 3, and then Terry Notary.
He was in Iron Man 3?
Yeah, and
What?
the guy.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And then one of the other guys was in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, turns out.
Oh.
So good amount of
Alright.
people from that. But you got most of them. I got you got most of the ones. I probably only would have gotten the same ones you got if you were asking me the question, but
Yeah.
you always have one,
Fair
so
enough.
go ahead.
All right. So this one, you might get it. I don't know if you heard about this at all, but the director of this movie, Jordan Vogt Roberts, I wanted to ask you something. What video game movie is he slated to direct?
Yeah, I don't know anything about this guy's work. I haven't heard any of his new
Hmm.
projects. I know a couple of the video game movies that are supposed to happen. So I'm gonna
So
guess Borderlands, that big one.
Ah,
maybe?
no.
No?
No, it wasn't Borderlands. It's the Metal Gear Solid movie with Oscar
Okay.
Isaac.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
heard of that.
That could be interesting, actually. I might go see
Could.
that.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I think it's about
Movie
time we get
news.
into some movie news, as always. Let's start off with the one that we both have. Aiden, if you want to talk to us a bit about what has happened this past week.
All right. So we touched on this a little bit before we started recording today, but I'll say it again. Avatar has been re-released in China and is now the highest-grossing film of all time, yet again.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of annoyed with. I expressed this to you already. Like it came out. What is it? Like 12 years ago now, pretty
Yep.
much. And they
12
haven't
years
even
ago.
released the second one yet.
Yep.
And they're just re-releasing this one like purely to be the highest-grossing film of all time. Like why?
Yeah. I mean,
It's so
one
stupid.
could see it as a way to hype up the second one as well, because
Yeah, I get it. The
putting
hype
it-
is pretty much
putting
died
people
on that.
yeah, I know, trying to I know. I really wonder if Avatar 2 could bomb at the box office, honestly, because like I don't know
It might,
how many
honestly.
people are gonna want to see this again. Like people were like unless like the visual effects are like completely mind blowing again, then like
Yeah.
well they can't keep that up. They can't keep that up for another 3, 4, 5 movies. So like at
Yeah.
some point it's gonna bomb. Could
No,
be the
I get it. You're
it
totally
probably
right.
won't be the
yeah.
first, but it definitely could be 3, 4, or 5. I'm gonna assume it's gonna
Yeah.
bomb at some point.
Gotta
But they-
say though, I mean, like as much as I find James Cameron annoying with like how pretentious he can be sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
you can't deny the man's talent, and he spent this much time on it. All I'm saying is, James, it better be fucking good.
It better be
okay?
good,
Like
yeah.
if this doesn't knock my socks off, I will consider it as a failure, considering how long we've had to wait for this shit.
yeah,
Honestly.
and how much he
Yeah.
hasn't done since making the
Yeah,
last
I
one.
know, bruh.
You know.
Like, come on.
Yeah. My biggest problem with him is that he did like this quick interview thing, saying is like, so like obviously people have accused Avatar story of being weak, but he's like, no, it's universal because it talks about the climate change and deforestation
Even though
and all this
it's
stuff.
kind of like Pocahontas in a way, you know?
Yeah, you're very right, and you don't want to be compared to Pocahontas most of the time. And this guy, I don't know. I think he needs to get off his high horse and get himself a good co-writer for this stuff. I don't know if he's getting co-writers for the new Avatar movies, but
Yeah.
the fact that he wrote Avatar and Titanic alone, I don't think helped the quality of those movies. But obviously, he is very good at getting talented people to help him master new technical elements of movies, especially when it comes to visual effects and the such. So I gotta respect him for that, and I can hate him for pretty much everything else.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. Let's move on. Michael B. Jordan is confirmed to be the director of Creed 3. So
I did hear about this. Yeah.
He says at this point in his career, the themes of Creed 3 obviously he feels are very important to him, and now that he's had a lot of experience with very good directors such as Ryan Coogler, who he's collaborated with a number of times, and of course, and also as he said, mentioned Denzel Washington as one of the people who kind of inspired him to want to direct.
Yeah.
And I think this is a pretty good move. The directing in the last one, while it was solid, of course, I think his name was Stephen Cable Jr. He didn't bring anything new to the movie, and I think Michael B. Jordan could definitely do that. And it'll be interesting to see what he can do as a director it's also interesting to see a trilogy like this getting directed by 3 different people, so for every movie. So
I get it though, because like Ryan Coogler's off making Black Panther 2. I think we can actually talk about that in a little bit. That must be so hard for him. I can't imagine.
For the cast and crew for doing it without Chadwick, it must be very sad. But I think
so it does make sense that someone else is taking over.
Yeah. For sure. And I also think that's also one of the reasons why they're so inspired to do it, because I think continuing the franchise is what Chadwick would have wanted. And I think they feel they're honoring him by continuing it, but also not recasting him is also another way of honoring him, but just continuing the story of Black Panther because of how much of his inspiration to so many people. And while it may not be the highest quality movie in the world, you can't deny the cultural impact it's had, right?
Of course,
You got to respect it for that, and it's still a good movie. Let's move on to Juice and the Black Messiah, which inspired a congressman to reintroduce a bill to strip J. Edgar Hoover's name from the FBI building. So obviously J. Edgar Hoover, I'm pretty sure, was the FBI director at the times when the FBI was attempting to track and I think assassinate people like they obviously in the movie assassinate Fred Hampton, but they also did extensive tracking and brought a lot of scrutiny to people like Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, I believe. So
I gotta say, it's pretty. I didn't realize how terrible of a human being was. Like for a while there, he was basically running a secret police in the United States. It seemed like.
Yeah, he was basically running a terrorist organization, you could say, by saying that people like Fred Hampton were the terrorists, even though they, in many regards, there is some reasoning. It's not completely unjustified, but in many regards, he was very wrong. And so that kind
I just think it's kind of weird though if you think about it, because there was do you remember that movie that had Leonardo DiCaprio in it? It was J. Edgar,
FBI story. I remember that.
Hoover biopic.
Yeah, that's what I also. One of the other stories I tagged was an article covering the J. Edgar Hoover's evolution from a Hollywood hero to a Hollywood villain, and I've got to imagine in the future he's gonna stay a villain. I don't think if he's gonna be.
Of course. I mean, hindsight is 20/20, as they say, or at least in this case 20/21. But I mean, I guess over time, like we've kind of realized his actions were just completely horrible. And I mean, like I guess in the moment they seem to help a lot of people feel safe at night. But I think over time the long-lasting impacts of those have been more negative than positive, I'd say. So yeah.
We got a good amount of first time for actors to becoming their first time directors. And apparently that's part of the theory is that Netflix's algorithms, like there's always movie studios have apparently been using algorithms to determine whether they determine a project to be like profitable. And Netflix has found like a lot of first time actor directors movies are going to be profitable. So they've been acquiring a lot of those. It's actually not related to those, but part of that algorithm also has really undermined some of the projects made by black directors and has really underestimated a good amount that were very successful. Things like Black Panther, things like Judas and the Black Messiah. Um, I think even A Wrinkle in Time, even though that wasn't the best movie, still
No,
overperformed.
Wrinkle in Time actually
Yeah,
didn't do very well at the box office, so maybe that
yeah.
was justified.
So
But
yeah, so maybe there are some. I think there was a few other projects that they were really underestimating, and
yeah,
that's kind of unfortunate, and
no, it
shows
is.
that
Yeah.
you really shouldn't rely on algorithms all the time, especially.
No, I think the human element needs to always stay in there. Like we
Yeah,
can't leave everything up to like a program or like a computer or like some sort of machine. Like
yeah,
we always have to be involved because I think that's what keeps the movies like really about the art and not just about making money. And I
yeah.
want to make sure that people don't forget that.
So
Yeah.
I'll mention the actors. Toni Collette is going to make her
Yes,
directorial debut with a film adaptation of Lily King's novel called Writers and Lovers for Topic Studios. I don't know the
that
premise
sounds
of it.
cool.
Sounds cool. I don't know much about it, but
I do
I'm
like
just
Toni Collette as an actress, and she's worked with some great directors. So I think this
yeah,
could be an interesting step for her career. I mean,
for
like
sure.
I think she could do a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George Lucas stole an early copy of his first sci-fi movie, THX 1138, from Warner Brothers to stop them from tampering with it. Kind of just shows you, it's just a funny little story showing how
That is
much George
funny.
Lucas is kind of a I don't know, like a perfectionist or a guy who just doesn't want
Yeah,
anyone messing with his product. Because
yeah.
apparently a
I
lot of
mean,
other like movies he's like overridden the edit or post production process for a lot of movies, and he's like changed a lot of stuff that most people say was not good decisions. But since apparently he had veto power on those projects, he allowed they had to go through anyways because it was his say so. So I don't know, just an
yeah.
interesting thing about one of the guys who pioneered one of the one of the greatest franchises and one of the most innovative ideas in cinema. But just an interesting fact about that guy.
Yeah. No.
Shrek returned to theaters as well for its 20th anniversary.
Oh boy.
I
Those
think
fucking assholes in my comments section on Instagram would love that. And by assholes, I mean my little brother's friends. But
no,
anyways, let's keep going.
yeah. Willem
Yeah.
Dafoe is going to join
Yeah.
Yorgos Lanthimos' adaptation of Poor Things, a Scottish novel. Feels like a Yorgos Lanthimos project, but I'm really excited. I really love Willem Dafoe. I love Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yep.
Um, Emma Stone's also theorized to potentially be on the project as the lead as well.
Solid.
Willem would be playing the supporting character, and
Yep.
if that happens, I'll be very excited to see that, and I'll be seeing it as soon as I can. A new poster for Concrete Cowboy, which debuted at TIFF, starring Idris Elba and Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger
Stranger
Things.
Things.
A 15-year-old boy
Ooh.
from Detroit is sent to live with his estranged father in Philadelphia and learns about the local urban cowboys. So,
Yeah, I heard about that actually. It sounds like an interesting movie. I actually really want to see that,
yeah,
to be
sounds
honest.
like an interesting movie. It didn't perform too well at TIFF, obviously. It wasn't the most popular or acclaimed thing to come out of it, but could definitely still be solid. Uh,
Yeah.
as I was talking about before, Netflix strikes a $30 million deal with Dev Patel for directing his directing debut for a movie called Monkey Man. Um,
Sounds
Dev
racist. No, I'm
Patel.
joking.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
should
That's
be
terrible.
really interesting. It's
Yeah.
clear again that Netflix has been getting a lot of actor director debuts. The most recent
Yeah.
I can think of is Amy Poehler with Moxie, that recently came out on Netflix, and it looks like they're going to
Yeah.
continue to do that. Pretty much a year after promotional material for In the Heights came out, we're getting
Yeah.
another round of In the Heights promotional material for the movie that will be releasing June 18th on HBO Max, which we don't have here in Canada, and in
Well,
theaters.
actually,
Wait,
we have Crave, and I found out we can watch it through that because
okay,
the Snyder Cut is coming to Crave. So I think
okay,
I'm pretty sure the In the Heights will come through that.
all
So we
right,
have a way to watch it. I found out. So
okay, cool.
excited.
But I would hope that this
Yeah.
might be one of the first things we can see in theaters, and that by the time we get to
Yeah.
June, that we can have some social distance theater experiences. And In the Heights would definitely be on one of the top films on
That
my
would be
list.
so good.
I do
Yeah,
enjoy
me too.
John M.
Yeah.
Chu as the director. He's solid, and not anything amazing, but
Yeah.
It's really funny that this poster has 8 names on it, but there's only 3 different names. We have, obviously, John M. Chu as the director. He's mentioned as, and John M. Chu, the director of Crazy Rich Asians, and then directed by John M. Chu at the bottom. We then have from Lin-Manuel Miranda, the creator of Hamilton, original score by Lin-Manuel Miranda, based on the musical stage play Music and Lyrics by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and concept by Lin-Manuel Miranda. So his name is mentioned 3 times. And then we have Kiera Algieri Hughes, I probably messed up his name completely, who did the book, and the screenplay is also by him. So interesting they didn't mention any of the actors. It just feels a little weird considering, they should probably want to... Not that anyone in this movie is a real big name, which I guess makes some of the sense. But also, I didn't know who did the book either, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Still cool
choice,
though. I mean,
but...
yeah, I've told you this before. I am very excited for that movie. I don't know why. It just like that first trailer that came out where they were like playing the main theme. It really got me excited.
Yeah, it was a really exciting trailer. They did a good job with that. It made me excited for the movie. Steven Spielberg to direct an untitled project loosely based on his childhood, with Michelle Williams to play a role inspired by his mom. So it looks like after Steven Spielberg going after decades of World War II based on true stories, sci-fi adventures, and other favorites, that he is going back to something a little more niche, a little more indie-like, if you will, to do something that's based on his childhood. And I'm sure he has some interesting parts of his childhood that can be translated in the movie. He's obviously a pretty talented director, so it could be an interesting movie. It's really odd to see a name this big do something so intimate. That usually doesn't happen once you make it. As much as Steven Spielberg has, you often don't return to projects like a movie about kind of yourself or your family, or even small things like this. But it'll be very interesting to see how it goes. And Michelle Williams is a great actress, so I'm very interested to see that. And then another actor-director, we got Elizabeth Banks, who had directed Charlie's Angels, is going to direct a movie called Cocaine Bear, a thriller produced by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Now, I don't think most people like Elizabeth Banks as director because Charlie's Angels did not perform well critically or at the box office.
And then she tried to blame
Men.
The failure.
Which
I know.
Isn't a great
how about you just make a good movie?
move. Yeah, exactly. That's not a great feminism
Captain
move
Marvel.
to blame someone else. It's like, Captain Marvel
and Wonder Woman collectively both made like almost
tons of money.
$2 billion
and I don't think that's just because every single woman on the planet watched. I'm pretty sure a good amount of men watched it because there is an advantage there because it's a superhero movie, but Charlie's Angels in a way is a sort of superhero action movie in some ways.
Yeah, and the first 2 Charlie's Angels movies that came out in the early 2000s did well at the box office, so I don't know what the excuse was there, to be honest.
But it's clear Phil Lord and Chris Miller definitely see something in Elizabeth Banks, and maybe this thriller will be a different change of pace for her, doing something a little less reliant on maybe an IP like Charlie's Angels. That is all the news I have for today. I guess it's time we get into talking about our movie for Aiden's series, which I think he named Monsterverse March or something of that nature.
I believe it's I can't even remember what I said now because I kind of just said it off the cuff last night, but I was basically I think it's like Monsterverse March Madness or something like that. Something along those lines. I'd have to rewatch the video.
Yeah, okay. Either one works. So we're talking about Kong Skull Island, directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts, director of Why Live When You Can Rule, The King of Summer, an indie film starring Nick Robinson, who's Simon.
I actually did see that one. It was really
you did?
good. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like these kids, they run away from home and then they build this whole house out in the woods and they live away from their parents because they hate them. Interesting.
Definitely an interesting movie. I might have to check that out one day. Let's talk about Kong Skull Island though. This was my first Kong Godzilla movie, and it was enjoyable. It was entertaining throughout. The Blu-ray copy I got had scratches on it, so a lot of parts were without audio and going faster than it should have been. I don't think I missed out too much. I don't
Yeah.
think, even though I don't know if that was part of the reason why I felt it went faster, and maybe if those parts had played at regular speed, I would have thought the movie was too long. But thanks to that, the
Maybe.
movie wasn't too long, and the pacing was pretty good, I'd say, based on
Yeah.
that. But I can't say that because I got a faster version in some parts.
Yeah. Well, I,
Um,
I rented my version on Amazon Prime. And I
yeah.
think it was the pacing was still solid. I don't think it doesn't drag for any moments. Like there's
Hmm.
like slower moments when there need to be, and I think that's
Yeah.
important. But the story stays moving for the most part.
Yeah, so I see a lot of like people who aren't fans of it say it's in the middle. Some people are fans of it, either really hate it because they didn't think it did some justice, or people think it really delved into the idea of being a monster movie and really and purposely did thin characters and thin plot and all this just to be able
Yeah.
to focus on Kong. And often with these movies there is a complaint that people like Kong and Godzilla aren't in the movie enough. I don't know, what was your feelings about it, and do you think Kong was in Kong Skull Island enough?
No, I think he was in the movie like pretty much. I think he was in the movie like way more than Godzilla in the 2014 one. And I still love that. Like I'm of the belief that I know some people want to see monster fights like every 5 minutes, right? But
Yeah.
I'm of the belief that you don't need to show the monster all the time to make a good monster movie. Just
Right.
make the fights that you do show kick ass. And I think for the most part in this movie they did.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to see this in theaters. I mentioned it in my like video of my own, but I saw this in theaters, and I gotta say, man, 14-year-old Aiden loved it, and 18-year-old Aiden loves it as well. Man,
All
it's
right.
it's so fucking cool. It's
Yeah.
just,
I
I'm sorry.
there are definitely good filmmaking ideas
Yeah.
done here.
No, I think the
It uses
cinematography.
so yeah, the
Yeah.
cinematography, it isn't good all the time in my opinion. That I don't like the weird zoom kind of things. It feels a little like
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. It felt too documentary-esque, but also it's definitely not a documentary for sure. It uses the vertigo effect. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's basically like zooming in while pulling the camera back on a dolly. So it
Yeah.
creates this like weird whirlwind thing, and it really felt very pointless. I didn't like that. It has some
Okay.
good professional camera movement that isn't always being like a crane type thing. I hate when a lot of blockbuster movies just slaps shit on a camera on a crane and just throw it all over the place. But this had more purposeful camera movement for the most part. And it clearly had a good amount of passion for the technical side. I think the visual effects are pretty well done. They're never bad. They try to play with color theory a good amount. There's a lot of blues, yellows, and greens, and
Yeah.
sorry, not yellows as much. I mainly noticed blues, greens, and reds. That was
Yeah.
the most dominating colors, and it was an interesting choice. That's how they lit a lot of it. I kind of felt it would be funny if they kind of kept that for the whole movie. If like different parts of this like Skull Island, because it's supposed to be like mythical, was just like colored red. Because I thought that would have made the movie look cooler sometimes. But
Yeah.
like I felt like it's okay to do that color thing, but I feel like they should have committed to it a little more than they did.
No, that's
Yeah.
totally understandable. I get that. I mean, I personally liked a lot of the camera techniques shown. I think it's good to. I don't know. It's better than like your conventional like cinematography where it's just you point and shoot. I like how they mix things up, and instead of just entertaining us with like the CGI and like what the characters were doing, they kept us entertained in like I don't know scenes that could I don't know seemingly just like have your brain like kind of gloss over them a little bit with like
Yeah.
different camera techniques like you said. Like I
Hmm.
personally liked all of them. I think it's probably the best shot film out of all the MonsterVerse movies
Okay.
so far. I mean, yeah, I liked
Yeah.
even when Godzilla's camera work, and I thought Godzilla's camera work was phenomenal as well.
Right.
But I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just the next one after this though doesn't have the best camera work, which is strange.
Okay.
Like they kind of go from two solid ones to just one that's not really up to par.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they filmed this whole thing in Vietnam, which I don't know. It kind of
Oh,
felt
really?
yeah, they did. So that like
I
because
did not know that.
it really did remind me of the Five Bloods in a weird way. In some ways, but I think the Five Bloods is instead of Kong, it's just they're looking for gold, and
Yeah.
the real enemy is the mines. And I think that movie executes tension a lot better because I feel like it was trying to be a horror movie sometimes, especially when that guy gets impaled by a spider. I'm like, it's not really something this is an action movie, right? I didn't feel that was
Oh,
very
I get that,
action
yeah.
of them. It's like, oh look, oh crap, there's a spider, and now I'm impaled, kind of thing. It's like, okay, I don't know,
No,
but
I understand that. Like that
yeah,
scene does feel a little bit out of place. Like it kind of that one kind of reminds me a bit of I don't know if you've seen the 2005 King Kong movie,
yeah,
but You remember? Do you remember that big pit of bugs that they all fall into?
No, I
It
didn't
sort of
watch
reminded
it.
me a bit of that. Oh, you
Okay.
don't remember that?
No,
Oh,
I don't.
okay. Well, yeah, that's a terrifying scene, man. I
Yeah.
hate that so much, but like
Yeah.
just because I hate bugs and shit. But
Hmm.
yeah, it kind of reminded me a bit of that, just with what they were going for there. But
Yeah.
it doesn't exactly fit with the lighthearted tone of most
No.
of the movie, to be honest. Yeah.
I also felt the tension at the very beginning with the lightning storm really sucked. I felt very pointless, other than it being there because it was supposed to shroud this thing in mystery. Look, it's surrounded by a storm, so you don't want to go in there. You don't know what.
Yeah.
No one's been in there because there's a storm. Felt a little
Yeah.
dumb to me. Um, I enjoyed John C. Riley's character the most, oddly
Yeah.
enough, because for one, he actually gets like a conclusion to his character, and like
Yeah, that
he's
was
kind of
nice.
fun sometimes. What I don't get is like how like obviously there's like a cold open of sorts where the two crash and like well first of all they suck at shooting each other, and then they also suck at stabbing each other because it's like Kong shows up and they just like stop fighting, and then apparently the story is they learned how to communicate over whatever amount of years, and I'm like, what made you guys be friends after Kong, right? Like
Yeah, I
it,
mean, I guess
that
I don't know.
felt a
I guess
little
they kind of
weak.
just
They just
yeah,
like
but
obviously like they do a good job at not trying to take the story seriously in a lot of parts, which I
yeah.
can appreciate. I really didn't like Sam Jackson though. I felt he was
Oh, really?
way too okay. Like there's cliche. He was way he was a little too cliche for me. He was way too I'm a kill Kong. I'm do whatever because I'm a soldier and I need to
No,
eliminate threats without
I
using
do
logic.
understand
Like
that.
Kong
Yeah.
can't swim. How is he gonna attack anyone else? There's a reason he like there's been reports about his doings for like 50 years, but he's literally never caused anyone trouble who hasn't like been on the island. So it's like, why do you need to kill him? He's literally a threat to no one.
Well, I can understand that. I mean, like, I think his character was more to like, I don't know, maybe just I don't know, reference the Vietnam War a little bit or something, because I
Yeah,
think there is a little bit of that
that
subtext there.
Viet.
Like it does
Yeah,
try and be it maybe the one thing I kind of didn't get like is why it tried to do that. Like why it tried to be an extended metaphor for the Vietnam War. Because
yeah,
honestly, I
no,
just came into that looking for a fun monster movie. And I think like I actually what's it called? I was watching like those stupid honest trailers, right? But they actually did make a really good point like this, where they were saying that Kong represents the Viet Cong, and then Sam Jackson's character is like the U.S. military, and I really do see that. I just don't know if it really has a place in a movie like this, So I do understand that.
yeah, like
I
that
do like Sam
seems
Jackson's
really
character though.
dumb to me. I don't like.
Yeah,
I liked when they weren't focusing on Sam Jackson. Tom
yeah,
Hiddleston and Brie Larson actually had some good chemistry, and I like that they didn't take the relationship too far. They didn't focus on it too much, obviously,
yeah.
but they
No,
still
I
had.
like that.
They were clearly
Yeah,
caring for each other. I think the use of the F word is misplaced. I don't remember. They just throw it out there in a
yeah.
random
Big
scene.
fucking ants.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. That's a stupid place to put it. Like there was a part where John C. Riley was talking about how like they're stuck there and that they're basically like screwed. I was like, you could have used the F word there to say like we're fucked. We're not getting out of here. I
no,
thought that
I
would have been a
wanted to see
much
Sam
better.
Jackson say like motherfucker before he got killed by Kong. That would have been way better. I thought.
Yeah, but
Like
like
he
Sam
does it in
Jackson,
like pretty much
of
every movie.
yeah, but like Sam Jackson does that too much. It's like the fact that they cut it off wasn't good. I thought they should. It would have been better to either completely go for it or just not do it at all.
Yeah,
I think Kong could have been a little more expressive when he looks like he's like feeling empathy for Brie Larson's character. You can't tell that too much. Like it's enough to
yeah,
tell that, but it's not very expressive. I think he could have. That's something that could have been improved about the CGI. I think Brie Larson when she shoots the gun off, not at the lizard, but just in the air during the last fight. I didn't understand the purpose of that, which is why I'm thinking the editing I had a little bit of problem with. I didn't think a lot of the scenes were cut too well. As I said, the pacing's fine overall. Like that's also part of the script part. Like pacing is also obviously part of script. But I think some of the editing choices weren't very good. They felt jarring and it was like I couldn't. Sometimes I felt like the action was not easy to follow at all,
yeah.
and I didn't love that.
There's one
Um,
thing I really liked about the movie. I mentioned this in my own review. We bring it up again. I liked all the '70s nostalgia that they were going for. I thought that was one of the better aspects of the movie. Like I get it, like they
yeah,
had to say it in the film, so of course there's gonna be that stuff there. But I don't know. I guess I'm kind of a sucker for old stuff. I really liked all the music they used. I loved all of like the choices, like clothes. I thought everything looked really
yeah.
good from. standpoint, to be honest.
In
So.
a weird way, I felt like this movie was trying to be Da 5 Bloods with its use of, with its time has come today at the very beginning of the movie, which they use a good amount in
Yeah.
Da 5 Bloods. But I felt like Da 5 Bloods was very much more invested in Vietnam War times, even though it wasn't even set during that time, more than this movie, and was a lot more honest, which is why I kind of have to give this movie like a little bit of thumbs down for that part.
Understandable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
The
would you give
endings. Sorry, I'd like to say also
no, it's
the
fine.
ending's pretty
We'll get to
abrupt as well.
Yeah.
It's like the end movie's ending because there's helicopters in, and then we just go into Kong's eye to end the movie. Also, the title cards, I didn't love them. They felt like they were trying to go too much for Vietnam type of like Asian type.
Well,
of
that's kind of what they did in
painting.
Godzilla as well, though.
Yeah, I
mean,
don't.
they did
Well,
that whole
Godzilla makes more
thing.
sense because Godzilla is like from Japan. King Kong, to make him so connected to Vietnam, felt a little out of place. I also think John Goodman and Corey Hawkins characters really need to be cut out. Richard
Yeah, I wasn't the
Jenkins
biggest
is
fan
in
of
this
him either.
movie for one scene, which I was like, is that Richard Jenkins? Because like not that he's like the biggest prolific actor, but I'm like, is he really in this movie for one scene? And yeah, he's in the movie for one scene as a senator. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that, but it was interesting to see him in one scene. I gotta give them that.
Yeah. Also, that one Landsat guy who just got completely destroyed by those fucking like saw birds for no reason was just. It kind of reminded me a bit of like. Do you remember like in Jurassic World when like the two kids like their fucking like babysitter just got like eaten by like a pterodactyl and then the pterodactyl got eaten by a mosasaurus? It kind of reminded me a bit of that. You know what I mean? Like just an unnecessarily over the top death for no reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of get that. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. The fact that they like found his like the deer, whatever his bro, it's like they were trying to do like a poem thing every time, but they really didn't say anything. It's just like they started the beginning of a letter every time. There's like deer. I don't remember Brady or whatever his name was.
Yeah, it's just kid.
It was like those kind of attempts to make us emotionally connect to the characters felt not great because it should just be like a Kong movie where like we understand these are human beings and stuff.
Yeah,
it's like that's all we really need from a movie like this. As an overall score, I'd say I give it a 5 out of 10. It's very mediocre in many respects, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I didn't love the action. I will shout out the Tom Hiddleston thing with the green gas and him with the poison mask slicing
really
up
good.
those blue-blooded birds. The color, it looked nice. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that worked well. And I think I really hated that Kong randomly got stuck in the chains though. Like why? Yeah. How did that that felt very out of place. But then him being the excuse to have him throw like a propeller at the lizard was fun, and those are my thoughts in the action. Just like,
all right,
didn't feel like action too much.
The other action scene that kind of really stood out for me before like I get into my score, obviously, I think was I like that first scene with all the helicopters. I will admit, there did seem to be more helicopters than
fake
on the
tension.
boat.
Yeah, it felt like fake tension to me, and it's like
it still was amazingly shot though, and I think that's probably one of the highlights of the film, to be honest. But where did all those helicopters come from though? There's like there's way more than there was on the boat. Like, is that just me? Did you notice?
Yeah, that's true. There was like 3 helicopters on the boat, and then there was like I guess they had more boats, but they didn't show the boats. But then there was like 11 plus 12 plus helicopters when there was only 3 on that ship. So yeah, I don't know. It does feel weird. Mm-hmm. Also when the first helicopter gets attacked, I thought it was a tree. I didn't think it was Kong. I thought it was the helicopter got hit by like a tree that somehow sprung up because of the explosions, which is one of my problems with the film. I don't know why it starts off with like why are they blowing up the ground to test seismic levels? Like
I don't know, but
it feels like a weird.
Thought that an explosion could like make a tree do a perfect spiral?
Okay, maybe that or that Kong threw a tree at them or something. It just looked like a tree the first time I saw it. I was like, well, are they getting attacked by a tree? Like, what's going on here? But then I'm like, it's Kong. And it's like, okay, it makes sense. And then, the obvious homages to Apocalypse Now with the big sun. And, except it's with the helicopters.
Yeah.
Except they didn't play Rise of the Valkyries. missed opportunity. You know, if you're gonna delve into all this Vietnam War stuff, you might as well add some
Yeah.
Flight of the Valkyries. You know, they did it in
I thought the
Rango.
Black Sabbath was. I think the Black Sabbath was a little bit better though. But as far as my score, I'd probably give it a 6.5 out of 10. So I
Okay.
mean, like, I'm a fan of these movies.
Yeah.
There's no secret about that. I like big dumb action films. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think before we
yeah. I
finish up, we can
Yep.
talk about a couple other movies we may have saw this week before. The
Okay.
Oscar nominations are tomorrow. As a reminder, make
Yep.
sure we'll have a video on that tomorrow afternoon. I'm hoping. We'll
Yep.
see. I'm gonna try to get out as fast as possible. But
All
we're
right.
gonna be a little bit delayed because we have class. I feel
Yeah, of
like I've
course.
said that 3 times at least. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So, Aiden, what else did you watch this week?
Just trying to think. What else did I watch this week? Well, what was I can't remember what I watched actually. It must not have been something very memorable. You know what? You tell me what you watched first. I need to really think about
Okay.
what I watched. I can't remember.
All right. I'll start
my
off.
God.
I always keep a list of what I've watched, so it's easy for me. Yesterday
Okay,
I watched
that's probably
25th
good.
Hour, directed by
Oh,
Spike
yeah.
Lee with Ed Norton and his dog. It's a good movie. In a weird way, it reminds me of Fruitvale Station because of the idea that instead of him we knowing that like the audience knowing that he's gonna die at the end of the movie, we know that Ed Norton's character is gonna have to go to jail at the end of the movie. And in
Yeah.
some ways that's almost feels like the same thing because in jail he's either gonna get like really fucked up by everyone or he's gonna kill himself or he's gonna try to run away. Which is kind of the idea of the whole movie is like what is he gonna choose based on the events of the day, but also trying to take advantage of all his like events of the day. There's this really
Yeah.
weird B plot with Phil Seymour Hoffman, and of course he's a great actor, but that B plot felt like it either needed to be focused on more or less. It felt like it wasn't like the way they conclude it didn't feel like a conclusion. It just kind of happens, and I do they at the end of the movie they still leave it ominous whether Ed Norton accepts and goes to jail, whether he tries to run away, tries to start a family somewhere else, kind of thing, or if he kills himself, which I guess is still a possibility. And I thought that was interesting. I watched Raising Arizona, a
Oh,
the
yeah.
second Coen Brothers movie, which is kind of insane to think because it is so well shot, so confident in every form. It feels like the Coen Brothers, even though it's only like it feels like today's Coen Brothers, even though it was literally only their second film. Great
Yeah.
performances. It was insane they got this level of talent for a movie in their second time, but I guess they just were really good at finding talent because none of these guys were too famous when they first were in this movie. Because like Nicolas Cage, Holly Hunter, John Goodman, Frances McDormand, Randall Cobb, Sam McMurray, Trey Wilson, really good acting. It's pretty funny and very entertaining throughout. The script is very strong. There's not a lot of flaws with it. The acting's great, as I said before. And before Tim Robbins escaped out from Shawshank Redemption, there's this really funny scene where John Goodman climbs out of a home in the middle of a mud field in the middle of a thunderstorm and just like yells because he's escaped.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. Frank Darabont might have done some copying, but I don't know. I'd have to prove that. And also 2 people steal Huggies in this movie. So need I say more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely crazy.
Battle of the Sexes. I also watched from the
Oh, yeah, the
directors
tennis
of Little
movie, right?
Miss Sunshine. Very solid movie. Solid
Yeah.
writer. Solid filmmaking. Solid performances. Just solid all around. They use zooms a lot, which I usually are annoyed at, but it felt very fitting for this documentary-esque movie. It feels very 70s, which is the time period it takes place in. I don't think it does a good enough job of fleshing out the characters, but I think they could have done it a little more. And
Yeah.
the last scene, I don't know if I enjoy it too much because it felt like it was trying to put you like as you were the audience like watching on television kind of shots. They never did a lot of close-ups for the tennis parts, which made it obvious they were probably using stunt doubles for all the tennis playing, which is fine.
Yeah.
I didn't have a massive problem with that, but also I would have liked the point of a movie is be able to see a kind of a part of a sports match that you wouldn't be able to see if you're just watching it normally, but they don't do that
Yeah.
here. There was also the woman from The Boys. I don't remember her name exactly. The big giant the leader. Let me find her name real. I think Elizabeth Shue.
Which one? The Nazi? The Nazi? Oh, Elizabeth Shue. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, from the first season. Yeah.
Yeah, from the first season.
Yeah.
Interesting. Pretty well shot. Nothing crazy good looking though either. It was a good choice to shoot on film. Helped get that 70s
Yeah,
esque feeling, and solid movie all around.
nice. Yeah, actually, no. I remember what I remember what I watched now. I was just gonna say I ended up rewatching Tenet.
Oh
I hadn't seen it since the summer.
yeah,
So yeah, I was just to see that one again. But I think I like it a little bit less than I did at the time. You
right.
know? Yeah, I don't know why. I think that's kind of it feels like it's a bit of a problem with like a lot of like kind of like big blockbuster movies, and I didn't think it would happen with like a Nolan because like those are really
Yeah.
good for rewatches. But I don't know. It just doesn't like really impact me as much
Mm.
as it used to. I mean, like I don't know if you've have
Like
you seen that movie yet? I'm
I
just trying to
have
remember.
seen it. I saw it in theaters, and I believe you saw
Oh
it in
yeah,
theaters
that's
as
right.
well, right? I think that could be part of
Yeah,
the reason. I think it's a kind of movie that really relies on the theater experience.
yeah.
And like, I don't know, did you understand the plot better though, at least?
Better the second time around, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, like in the theater it was hard at some points, but I think yeah, like a second viewing is definitely
Like, did you
better to
use
understand the
subtitles
plot.
to try to like to be able to understand what they were saying? Because the sound mixing was the biggest thing that annoyed me about the first time
Yeah,
seeing it in the theater. It was really hard. I barely picked up any of the dialogue. But did you
yeah.
use
No,
subtitles or did
I
you?
didn't use subtitles. No,
Oh, okay.
I kind of just turned the volume up like loud
Yeah.
enough so
Okay.
I could make out what they were saying pretty good, like well enough, so that's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, so what would you give? I'm just curious. After your second rewatch, what would you give it out of
Second
10?
rewatch, I'd probably give Tenet like a. Now I gave it originally, I believe, an 8 or an 8.5. I can't remember exactly, but I think now I'd probably give it like a 7. To be honest,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, pretty big drop off. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot
yeah,
of that does maybe rely on theater experience, but
yeah.
anyways, I want. Speaking of Nolan, I got a couple Blu-rays I'd like to share with the audience real quick. I got this Dark
All
Knight
right,
copy of the Dark Knight. And
nice.
it's three discs, so it's like the normal
Yeah.
disc, the normal Blu-ray, the bonus Blu-ray, and then a DVD for a digital copy. I guess if you can like stick this in your computer and then you can download it technically,
Oh, that's sick. Actually,
my
I have that
computer
one on
doesn't
Blu-ray
have a
too.
DVD slot, so that's unfortunate.
Yeah. You
I
can
got
just
a
use the Xbox. You can use your
I
Xbox.
yeah, like to watch it, yes, but I can't
Yeah.
like my computer doesn't have a DVD slot, so I can't like I can't get the digital copy basically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah.
use my PS4 for all the Blu-rays. It's my Blu-ray player basically. I have the Master.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, very good movie from Paul Thomas Anderson. I was really excited to
Ah.
get this. Unfortunately, there's a chip in the corner because like there were like
Ooh.
at the place I was at this like resale store or I don't know
Yeah.
pawn shop you'd say, and of course they had like four copies of the Dark Knight, but of course they only had one of the Master, and the one that they do have has a chip in the corner if you can see there, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And then I ordered like four Blu-rays from eBay. This was one of them. The Farewell came from Quebec, as you can kind of see. It has the sticker still on it. It's really hard to get it. I try to get it off. It's really hard to. So I guess it's just gonna be there forever.
Uh-huh.
Really good movie. I really enjoy it. It connects to me a lot personally because my family went some of it through like my great grandfather experienced the same thing. He had cancer, and they decided not to tell him. It's very much a thing that happens a lot among a lot of East Asian households. So I think it was a very important. So
Okay.
obviously, this was maybe considered like a big story idea for some people, but
Yeah.
obviously, and I think that's maybe one of my problems with the film. It felt like any director could have maybe tackled this issue, other than Lulu Wang, but she still does a pretty good job, and Aquafina definitely gives her best performance and deserved a Golden Globe for it for sure. And good
Nice.
movie.
Yeah. I would like to watch that actually. I heard it was very good.
It was a
So,
good movie. Yeah, definitely solid. Yeah. I think that's the end of our episode, though. This has
yeah.
been. I think this is episode 15? 15, I think, or 15 or
Hey.
16. We're making our way up there. I think around 20, we might be doing a tier list of all the movies we watched. Oh, and I just realized I need to pick what will be next week's movie. So
Collective. All right.
yeah. For our movie, we're gonna do a highly acclaimed documentary that I think is a lock for both best international feature and best documentary. It's called Collective. It's on Netflix. It's one of the few international films and documentaries available on streaming. So I'm gonna check that out, and we're gonna check that out and talk about it on the next podcast. Probably the most niche pick I could have picked, but it's fine. It'll still be a good movie, I'm pretty sure, and we'll be talking about that next week, as well as we'll be doing our Oscar nominations after the real ones come out to tell you where the Academy got it wrong. I have a few places I already know it's probably going to be wrong, but who knows? There's still hope for people like Delroy Lindo. Very little, though. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to get nominated. But who knows? We'll have to find out Oscar morning. Make sure to look out for that video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, make sure to go follow Aiden at GBD Reviews on Instagram. Make sure to go subscribe to my channel, Reviewing, on YouTube. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.